Hello and welcome to a video on pivot tables. This is Friday afternoon after a class in which we talked about this particular data set. This is Chapter 2, Problem 29. We did this in class, but I'm going to like to make a video here for you where we can do this again. Okay, we have the data set for problem 29. I've changed this observation to just OBS because I want to make these columns as narrow as possible here. Give ourselves as much space as we can. You may have noticed that the size here of the spreadsheet is quite small, so we can put this up onto the web so that the screen size is now just by 800 by 600, and that'll get even smaller, but we've got 800 by 600 dots here, resolution, and the effect that has up here is it squeezes in these menus up at the top pretty tightly. But in any case, now we want to make a cross-tabulation of this X data and Y data. The X's are either A, B, and C, and the Y's are either 1 or a 2. As I said in class, this could be, say, 3 different medications, or and outcome of cure, no cure, or got better, didn't get better. Or 3 different ways of teaching children something, and then outcome of they pass a test or don't pass a test. In any case, we want to make a cross-tabulation here, and hang on a second, I'm going to come over here. I'm selecting all these columns. I want to make it a bit narrower here so we can get more columns in. Okay, we want to make a cross-tabulation, and to do this, we're going to use a pivot table. Okay, the first thing we're going to use a pivot table is to notice your data set here. In the first row, we have the names, observation, then X and Y are 2 variables. We have labels for the columns in the first row. Then, after that, we have data. Notice that there are no open rows. We've got no blank rows here. No blank rows. There's no blank row in between the labels and the data. There are no blank columns. No blank columns here either. Okay, that's important for pivot tables. Well, now let me click into the data. We select a cell. Don't double click, just click once. We select a cell, and then we will click on our pivot table. It's in the Insert menu. Click on Pivot Table. Okay. And notice here that because I brought up Pivot Table when I had one of the cells in the data selected, it's automatically selected the range. Okay, right here, if it's A1 to C31, if this isn't correct, you can choose a correct range now. And remember, the very first row must be labels for our variables. And let's see, the pivot table, instead of making it a separate worksheet, I'm going to specify the cell here. And, I don't know, we'll start it in E2. Okay, so we'll have the pivot table area in E2, and click OK. Now, we'll a little bit squeeze her space here, but I think it'll work all right. Now, on the right, we have our pivot table. I'll call it pivot table field list. This on the right, this is the toolbox we'll use to construct the pivot table. And actually, once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to use. Now, the first thing, let me see. Here we have observation X and Y. The X's, the A, B, C's, we want those to be in the rows. Those are the explanatory variables, the inputs. So X's, I'm going to take an X down. Now, up here, hang on a second, let me do this again. I've put the cursor over X. You can see that X at X row is selected. Now, I press down the left button and just drag, the way you usually drag, and I drag down to the row label area. Okay, and there we go. We have an E, column E now, row labels A, B, C. Okay, and then when we put some data in, we'll get some totals down in row 6. We're not there yet, though. Next, for output. Y is our output. There is the output variable, or the result. So I'll drag it down to the column label. We want it in columns. All right, now let me get D a little bit narrower. Let me narrow up here. Okay. F, and we got some E and F because there are some buttons in there. They've made it wider, but I want to Okay, so we have A, B, C, that's our X, and then for the column labels 1 and 2, those are Y outputs. We also in column H in row 7 have rows for totals, but well, we'll see those. Basically, input ABC, right here. Whoops, well, let's see, I guess I can't quite select in the normal way. Input ABC, output 1, 2. All right, now, but what do we want in the table? We want to know how many observations. How many of the A's had an output of 1, or a result of 1? How many A's had a result of 2? So our observation, I'm going to drag it down here to the body of the table. That's where that sigma is down there. All right, there we go. Okay, but now we got to narrow it up again here now. But we have a little bit of a wrinkle here. What it's doing right now, notice it says sum here. That GOK is it's totaling up all those observation numbers. That's not what we want. Let's see, click here. Now, hang on a second. Let me well, let's see. It's got to be off screen here, so let me come here into the body. And I'll click in the body, and I'll right-click in the body. That's great. Okay, now it's on screen. Okay, value field settings. This is what we want, value field settings. Come here. We get this, I notice in this middle list here, okay, and how we do the calculation. Instead of sum it, we want to know how many of each kind. Okay. And I got to narrow it up here again now. Okay. And there we go. We have it right there. Our table is here in the middle. Of the A's, 5 outcomes of 1, none of 2, total of 5. B's, 11 outcomes of 1, 2 of 2, total of 13, etc. All right, now we're coming up 7 minutes, but we're right here. We already have our table in here. So let me right-click here again, bring up the table field list. Okay, well, hang on. Instead of doing it that way, instead of right-clicking, you could do that, right-click. I'm going to come back here. We're inside the table. Now, notice up here we've got Pivot Table Tools, Options Design. These are the two new ribbons up here. Option, if I come here, Option, oh boy, it's all squeezed in. Where the heck is it? Boy, now a group, hang on a second. I don't know where it is now. If I had this, if this was all opened up, I'd know where that thing was. That's all new in the new version of Excel. So I'm going to come back here. I usually right-click. Somewhere up there in that option menu, you'll find the same thing, the value field settings. All right. I did it in class today because the screen was full size. All right, let's see. So now let's come over here. We want to now change this to, this is fine, totals. We want to change this to row percentages. And remember, we come over to the type of calculation. And remember, to get the row percentages, we found out we had to do the Retsuhoko. It seems opposite to me, but in any case. We click on this, say OK. Whoop, and I got to narrow these things down here again. Okay, let me click outside the table and that pivot table field list will go away. Click outside the table. Now we can see that for A we have 100% outcome 1, 0% outcome 2. 100%, hang on a second, we can come up to the home menu here. We should be able to, there we go. Oop. Let's try it again. Home menu, click one. Okay, there we go. Get rid of those decimal places. So here we have row percents. And if we clicked in here, I'll do a right click now inside the table body, field list settings, type of calculation, and in the middle here, come down to, okay, the row direction. This will give us our columns. Okay, whoop, click outside to get, and there we have column percentages. Not normally want row is normally it, but time's up, so I have to say goodbye. Only got 5 seconds left, so goodbye. See you in the next video.